to The Edge of Innovation with InSource, the podcast that takes you on a thrilling ride through the world of digital transformation. Join us as we dive into the latest trends, cutting-edge technologies, and game-changing strategies that are revolutionizing manufacturing in industrial settings. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just curious about the future of industrial innovation, we've got something for everyone.
So, hello everyone, and welcome to the podcast today. We're going to be covering InSource's managed services offering and discussing a little bit about what that is, kind of how we got started with it, and some of the unique things that InSource does to provide service to our customers through this managed services offering. I'm Chad Owens. I'm actually the solution delivery manager in charge of the managed services group, and with me is Ron Tanner. And Ron has been with InSource for how long, Ron?
About 27, 28. So long, I don't remember. So
a
long time.
well-seasoned veteran, yeah. So he's going to be joining us, talking about some of the things that we're doing on the managed services front. Ron is one of our managed service providers and has a handful of customers that he handles. So we'll discuss some of the things that he's doing as well. So I think
So Chad, what were some of the driving factors that led InSource to consider launching a managed services department?
yeah, well, it was a new idea. Honestly, I've been here only about 6 months, and we kind of shifted to this idea. And one of the things that really got us going down this path were, our daily interactions with our customers. I mean, you do it all the time, right?
Right.
Yeah, you're in with customers speaking about, their needs, some of the gaps that they're seeing. Obviously, we're facing engineering shortages. I think I read a BCG report not long ago that a third of engineering roles through 2030 are going to go unfilled. So that's a big gap, and we hear it all the time from our customers. And I think you can attest. I mean, from my side, I've seen it's not just a lack of employees, but it's a lack of ability to maybe learn a new technology. I think we've seen employees leaving on short notice and backfilling in those types of things. Uh, Shortages on being able to train employees or do expansion because they're too focused on manufacturing. I think there's just been a lot of gaps that we've seen, and so we thought, how do we fill that? Um, so
Yep.
we came
So
up with this managed services idea. It, the thought was, let's approach it like an IT organization approaches, supporting a customer. Um, Really, we couldn't use our current team because they're all project focused, right? You were doing that,
right.
yeah, you're at a customer, you're focused on a project, you can't really break away and help others, along the path. So that's where we took Ron here and a couple of our counterparts and put them in a group where we could really focus on helping customers over a long period of time that weren't project focused. Um, Ron, I'd love to hear, you've been doing some of it. I'd love to hear, how have you been integrated in some of those and what you think about, how it's been going.
Yeah, well, I think it was a good department to spin up because, as you already said, we run into these situations where we've got people like me, they're getting older, if you will, and they're walking out the door and they're walking out the door with all the knowledge. And the other piece that's in play is the solutions have gotten relatively complex due to security measures and all the stuff that's going on in the industry, and it's very difficult for one person at a site that's making product to actually manage it on the other side from a commercial, from how do I put this, from the software deployment strategy perspective. So you run into those scenarios where it's not strictly an HMI anymore. It's not strictly a system platform. It's not a framework anymore. It's a framework bolted onto security measures and people and the processes around that. So the nice thing from a managed services perspective is that we come alongside the customer and we become, if you will, a expert on their solution, and we also become part of their organization as a proxy or a subcontractor. And the nice thing about that is we meet the customer where they are in their journey. We actually create a relationship with that customer, and the customers love that because we have a valued goal together. It's not strictly me coming in and say, oh, well, there's your problem. Here's how we fix it. It's more of what's the end goal? What are we trying to accomplish? What's the engineering problem? So that gives them a fresh look from an outside set of eyes. And I think it increases their performance, and it also reduces their risk in the market and reduces their risk from, employees leaving. And it's just the nature that we're in right now, or the,
It is. It is.
yeah.
I think that's well put. And one of the things that you talk about reducing risk, I think is really, really a huge key in that, because you mentioned learning their system, but it's not just a Ron that knows their system. It's obviously,
Right.
we have internal backups behind that. So it's, if a Ron decides to leave InSource or retire one day, then, we have that backfill strategy, that mindset that we can retain enough resources to have some general knowledge about everyone's processes that we're dealing with. Um, I think that's a really good point. Um, and kind of like you mentioned, meeting the customer where they are, I thought was another good point. That was something we really focused on in trying to put together this managed services group or idea, is that you know we didn't want to tie customers into long-term contracts. We didn't really want to tie people down, but we had to have some assurances obviously from our side as well. And so we kind of created this hybrid model of like 3-month rolling contracts um, with our customers, where it gives them some flexibility to, maybe they are looking for a midterm project where it's a 6-month engagement or an 8-month engagement, or maybe they're looking for something longer. It kind of gives some flexibility to, um, how long the engagement lasts and what the customers really, outcomes are focused on. I think that really adds some value as well.
Yeah, I would
Uh,
agree. And the other value that we add is, as the audience already knows, have heard, Windows 10 is going out. So we have this whole onboarding Windows 11 program. And if we understand the system, when we talk about upgrades, we already know their system, and helping IT perform or OT perform on that side, getting those upgrades going. It Because we're embedded in there, we have a clear understanding of what could happen. And, as part of managed services, we can take that upgrade offline, outside, reduce the risk, bring it back in and say, okay, we haven't found anything. Let's put it in your beta testing environment, and let's see what she does on your platform or in your network. So that's some of the other value added pieces that, managed services brings along.
yeah, yeah. Now I want to talk about the fun piece of managed services. So something really unique to InSource. This is something that started out of a tool that Aviva originally created called Sentinel. So Sentinel was a monitoring tool that kind of came embedded with, it was system platform, right, Ron?
Correct. It's
Yeah,
it's part of the Simpson platform.
part of the system platform application, and it did some high level monitoring of your IT resources and some high level monitoring of your Aviva applications. Um, and that generated another idea for our managed services group, to say, how how can we utilize this, or this idea of monitoring, like an IT group would monitor your solution? How can we utilize that, and really provide value for our customers? So, with that in mind, our resident Ron Tanner here created a tool that we've dubbed RonMon internally, which I don't think he likes, but we've stuck with it. And Ron, I'll love for you to just kind of detail out what this tool does, and tell our
Sure.
customers, how we're using it.
Okay. Absolutely. So, um, we have, like Chad said, we have backup people. We have people. I have, people that work with me. So we needed a solution that was rather easy to deploy, very small footprint, didn't affect other applications that may be running on the computer systems out in the field. And we needed what I call, and what the industry calls, an observability platform. So I put together some pieces and parts of off-the-shelf, configurable, enterprise level dashboarding and storage metrics, logging information, and then we take that information, that platform, and we deploy it out at the customer site. And InSource, specifically our side, our intellectual property, is the component that makes it all work. So we can actually bring in log information and other metrics associated with the Aviva system platform, and we pull that into a dashboard that and an alerting platform that we can sit at our desks from a managed services perspective, and we have a holistic view of what's going on in the application. And when I say application, I'm talking about the enterprise-wide application at the customer. And as we put the system in place, we baseline the system. So we'll put a system in place in one day, depending upon the number of nodes. We'll deploy that out there, and then we'll wait 3 months to get some patterns associated with what's going on in their application. Then we start doing forensic analysis to determine what those actually messages mean, in the context of, is this a problem? Chad mentioned the Aviva product. The Aviva product was very good, but it only gave us warnings and errors, which is okay. But anybody that knows most systems, when you get an error or a warning, it's a little bit too late. You would like to know some historizations and some pattern recognitions on the front end side, so you're not called at 2 a.m. in the morning and the plant's down. So that tool that we use internally allows us to get that observability platform that we always needed, and we can get metrics around SQL Server, around the OS, around the Aviva system platform, and the list goes on and on and on. And that's something that we put together because there was a need for us to actually have a holistic view of the customer site.
Yeah, and just to put it in perspective, I think one of the cool things uh, to note is that one of our first deployments was at a fairly large, fairly dispersed customer, and so this, sorry, so this tool is running at a customer site that we're monitoring Aviva Historian. I think there's a couple of historians, right, Ron? And
There's a lot.
yeah, and over 200 HMI nodes out in the field are reporting back to this tool. So we have visibility into that customer's entire platform across the entire United States to monitor, each node, each HMI, to know when that's going down at the server level, to monitor the statistics of the hardware that those devices are running on, or the hardware that it's running on. It's impressive. It's a really impressive tool. I think it's
And we'd be remiss not mentioning that the tool, the way I architected the tool, it's a push only tool. So this data is on their local area network. From a security perspective, it's read only information. We're not pushing data back down to the remote nodes. We're actually getting information, and they're pushing data to the centralized repositories. So security was, of the utmost importance, because obviously we gotta have security. And you mentioned one of our other customers is completely, I like to use the term air gap, but not in the traditional sense of air gap where there's no cable connected. More of an air gap is completely firewalled off, and you can't
yeah.
you can't access the system. So our system runs in that environment just fine.
Yep, that's a good point. Yeah, and security is obviously, yeah, a very key point these days. Um, let's see, pause for a second. I'm trying to think where else we were going. Uh, okay, so that was that. Maybe hmm, we talked about doing like some success stories. Um,
Yeah, you kind of mentioned the
I think I'll work that.
large customer.
Yeah, yeah.
So we can go down the path on talking about the patterns that we recognized that
Yeah,
they didn't see before, and then we using the tool, that
yeah.
kind of
Okay,
stuff.
okay. So yeah, yeah. So let's see. So yeah, I think we should take a minute here, Ron, maybe to explore kind of, we mentioned this very large customer that we have. Yeah, I'd love to hear some of the things you've found with the tool, working with them, maybe some of the problems that have been solved. Um, you
Sure.
know, walk us down that path.
So we won't talk about I'll talk about it on a broad base, not just
Sure.
one particular customer. So as an example. the system platform actually has information messages that come into the what we call the OCMC. It used to be formerly known as the System Management Console, or the SMC logs. And it's like a syslog, if you're familiar with syslogs, which is a very popular logging type format. So a lot of times the information that comes in is never shown as a warning or an error. Such as password expirations. A lot of customers use service accounts, excuse me. And the service accounts are supposed to be in a scenario where the password doesn't change. But if you fast forward to today's environment, that's a problem, because, then how
All
secure
passwords
are
change.
you, right? All
Yeah.
passwords
Yeah.
change. So there have been many times where we get these notifications that the system can't access the other systems because the password login, username, password issues. Well, that's a flag for us, and immediately the system lets us know, and we call the customer and say, hey, look, and they go, oh, I need to get with IT because the password must have expired and it didn't come to us, or I missed it in an email. Fill in the blanks. We're all busy. They're all busy too. So that's one of the pieces that we find. The other thing that we find is that a lot of these remote nodes are not manned all the time. And when they come in the morning, we see where CPUs have spiked to 100% or more, and they're just sitting there. And the customer gets a phone call and says, "Hey, this node is acting up." Well, in that scenario, we actually have gotten CPU notifications that it stayed, well above 75, 80% for 5 to 10 minutes, and that's a flag for us too. So the system alerts us and lets us know. So that's just a few of the things. I'm gonna make it brief, but we
Yeah.
have that type temp DB filling up from a SQL Server perspective. We get notifications as it starts going up, and because we have that hysteresis associated with it, or the tracking, we can say over a moving average, what is it doing? And
Yep.
that's all the tool allows us to do that. And
And what's happening when you get these notifications? How are you interacting with the customer at that point?
yeah, so it depends upon the customer. Some customers say send us an email. Some customers say give us a call. So it really depends upon the customer. And some customers have even asked, hey, can we get access to these type of alerts? And we say sure, but that's part of the managed services. You don't have to deal with it. And when they hear that, they go, oh, you'll let us know? Yeah, you don't have. That's the part of the managed services. That's the
Yep.
value add. One of the pieces that let us take care of it. You guys
Yep.
have other things. You got products you got to make. We'll take care of the systems.
And to highlight, I think those are some quick fixes. Obviously, the things that pop it through. You can alert somebody, they can go fix an issue. But I think I really want to highlight too that you know a lot of things we find are a little more difficult, and you'll find that our guys get in there, kind of dig around, running Paretos on the data that they're seeing, and really working with the customer to try to find a solution for the problems that may pop up on the screen or we get alerted to. And also working with the customer on things that they may just want to upgrade or enhance or change about their systems, and
Right.
getting yeah, Ron
And,
and the
and
team are giving feedback on that. So
right. And the other thing that, is we have visibility into pattern recognition on the system. So if a particular system, we start putting it in place and, the baseline looks good, then as we go along, the pattern recognition is starting identifying problems, because they're, it's a typical system platform environment where you may have three or four, maybe five, even more working in the system, doing modifications, and one little hiccup that they thought was benign can
yep,
have a cascading effect on the entire system, and we can see that really, really fast with the
yeah,
pattern recognition.
yeah, that's very cool. Um, yeah, I think you know, I appreciate you taking some time to kind of go through those things, discussing that tool, especially like I said, very well built. It adds a lot of functionality to our team, and gives us the ability to really help our customers keep their systems running, right.
Right.
Um, I would say, just to kind of recap, um, this is a new offering, fairly new offering for InSource. We've been doing this for a couple of years now. We've built it out to, I think we're working with almost 12 different clients now on a regular recurring basis, quarter over quarter, and adding a lot of value. And as we mentioned before, it's not just a gap filler for we need an engineer. It's we're working with engineers in some instances. We are the engineering team in some instances. In one instance, we manage an entire platform for a customer in the cloud, managing their OSI Pi platform and all of the systems connected to that. So it really is about working with customers to define their needs, and then we put together a program and deploy Ron's tool so that we can monitor the solution and really keep a holistic view of your deployed Aviva solutions and applications to make sure that you're up and running as efficiently as you can be. Um, you know, any thoughts from you? Final thoughts, Ron, on.
Yeah, well, uh, also you're seeing me, which is one person, um,
It's true.
and there are other people that work in our department, and most of us, if not all of us, are I wouldn't call them seasoned veterans, but we know the difference between a PLC and a PC. We know ladder logic. DCS is we've been in the environments, we've worked in the environments.
Yeah.
I've worked at a chemical facility, so we have a lot of bench depth. We have another gentleman that worked in the nuclear facilities. We got people in pharma. So we have a broad range. Plus, there's a lot of years of experience, and that's something that in facilities today is a rarity because like we've already mentioned, they're walking out the door, and the young people that are coming up, they're a little bit bewildered with what's going on. So. That'd be probably the only other thing is that a lot of bench depth. That's the best way to put it.
That's definitely worth mentioning. I appreciate that. Yeah.
Hmm.
Well, on that note, I would just want to say thank you for sitting with us and listening to us chat today. If you have any further questions or want any more information about InSource Managed Services, please reach out to us on our website, and we'd be happy to discuss how we can help you in your manufacturing environment.
Thanks for joining us at the Edge of Innovation. We hope you'll join us next time for another stone in the path of the digital transformation journey.